Hello, everyone. I'm Dylan,
And I'm Damaris.
and this is our channel Film Feeds. And today we're going to do our first review on the movie The Rental, which was directed by Dave Franco. That is the younger brother of James Franco. This is pretty much his first debut into filmmaking, or directing, rather. I gotta say, it was an excellent movie, in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. Just to break it down in the simplest of terms, think of it as a Airbnb stalker slasher type film, and we're going to go ahead and jump right into the essentials of the film.
And then just to warn you guys, there might be a few spoilers. We're not going to discuss like every single scene, but we are going to point out some of the ones that stood out to us. And essentially, this movie involves two couples, Charlie and Michelle, and Josh and Mina. And something important to identify is that Charlie and Mina are work associates, and Charlie and Josh are brothers. So, that's kind of already.
This is already setting up a dynamic that you will need to be prepared for later on in the film. So essentially, Charlie and Mina, to celebrate from work, they decide to rent this beautiful beach house, out in the middle of nowhere, let's say, and they invite their partners. So Charlie takes his girlfriend Michelle, and Josh, of course, is invited with his girlfriend Mina, and they go here together to enjoy a couple nights at this beautiful beach house.
So it's supposed to be like a vacation, a getaway. And then they do bring along some drugs.
Ecstasy, to be exact, to help with that fun-filled night, I guess you could say. But things tend to or begin to spiral out around this time. So Michelle isn't necessarily interested in doing any ecstasy that night. She wants to do it the final night that they're going to be there. But everybody else decides to partake in some ecstasy. So Michelle goes to bed. Charlie, Josh, and Mina all have ecstasy, and they drink and they kind of party, have a good time. Uh, Josh, uh, he ends up getting tired, and he decides he's just gonna take a nap, go to sleep. He just can't stay up, so that just leaves Charlie and Mina awake.
And from the film, like at the beginning, you can already kind of sense like
There's something going on,
yeah, something amiss. And sure enough, Charlie and Mina end up kissing in the hot tub.
right? And after that kiss, they're interrupted by Josh's dog that they had brought along that they weren't supposed to bring along. So with that in mind, they think maybe this isn't such a good idea what they're doing, and Mina leaves the hot tub. Mina goes into the house to take a shower, where she is met with Charlie, who walks in during the shower, and they have a rendezvous together.
So that already kind of sets, the kind of like the tone of the movie,
Right.
because they're already, doing things they're not supposed to be doing. Well, I mean, I guess that kind of started with them bringing the dog, though, right?
Yeah.
Because the Airbnb, or the place that it's not Airbnb,
But it's essentially Airbnb.
their rental, clearly stated no pets, and so they decided to, hey, screw them, we're bringing our pets anyway.
Right.
And so I guess that kind of like that kind of messes everything up from there on out,
Yeah,
because
it really messed a lot of things up because Charlie and Mina hooking up wasn't just bad for Charlie's relationship with his girlfriend Michelle, but it's also bad for Mina and her relationship with Josh, obviously. And it gets even worse because Charlie and Josh are brothers. So this is really bad that they hook up. This is bad all around, not just from a relationship standpoint, but also on Like,
On just the trip though, because for that reason they end up not wanting to go hiking
right.
the next day. And so, Charlie and Mina are kind of feeling guilty and tired from the night before. And so then that leaves Michelle and Josh to go on the hike that initially was all for all four of them. It ends up leaving them to kind of like the oddballs together. And so they go hiking,
And
and during this hike, Josh and Michelle are chatting, and Michelle kind of finds out from Josh that Charlie kind of has a streak of starting relationships with someone before he ended relationship with another person.
essentially, he's a compulsive cheater.
Yeah, more or less, because he starts with
And Michelle had some recollection of this because when she had met Charlie, he was in a relationship, and that's what she had brought up to Josh. And Josh had brought up a previous relationship that she was not aware of that had ended in the same fashion. So with this, Michelle becomes pretty concerned.
Yeah, and then she seems a little bothered by it, but my thinking was, you did it with him, so obviously he's gonna do it to you. It's kind of it
Right.
tends to be the thing with people.
Yeah,
It's like their habits.
yeah, she seemed a bit oblivious to that. She should have known what she was getting into when she got with Charlie, because if he was willing to kick some girl to the curb or cheat on her for her, who's to say Charlie's not going to cheat on her with somebody else?
Right, on
Which, in fact, he
Michelle.
did.
Right, with
With
Mina.
right.
um
Well, anyway, it cuts away back to the house with Mina and Charlie, and they're cleaning up the home, getting things straight after the party from them doing all the ecstasy, and Mina gets into the shower to take another shower, go figure. But this time, Charlie's not walking in. But she notices in the shower head a red light, and immediately she realizes there is cameras set up within the shower head in the shower that she's taking. And this shower she's using is a different shower than the one that she had her naughty time with Charlie with. It's like the guest bathroom. So after she shows Charlie the camera in that bathroom, the guest bathroom, they immediately go to the bathroom that they had their dirty time in, and they realize there's also a camera in that shower head.
Yeah, so, their concern becomes to, should we call the police?
Which is a big issue because Charlie does not want to contact the police because there's a possibility that the information,
The footage.
right, might get disclosed to Michelle and Josh that they had an affair in that shower. So they don't want to immediately go to the police, and it just sets up a whole dynamic here. Like, it's like, well, what do they do? Charlie is in his best interest to just ignore this, because if Michelle and Josh were to find out that they were cheating, this would cause a whole bunch of problems. They think the guy that they had rented it to, or got rented this property by, his name is Taylor. They believe he is some pervert, on top of being a racist due to an altercation early on in the transaction. They believe he's a racist, so they think that he's also a pervert on top of being a racist. So they think about confronting him possibly as well, but that's also out of the question. They would rather just kind of keep the peace on this.
Yeah, so what do you do?
Right, they're kind of stuck in a situation.
I don't
Well,
know what I would do.
yeah, there's not much you could do, honestly. So Michelle and Josh immediately come back while they're discussing what had happened with them finding the cameras, and they do not disclose to Josh and Michelle about the cameras they found because they want to keep this a secret, obviously. Um, Josh immediately is, happy to see Mina, his girlfriend. He goes up there and, greets her like he usually would, gives her a kiss. Michelle, however, when she sees Charlie, she kind of just walks right by him, even though he had said hello to her. And this puts Charlie under the impression that there's something wrong. And Josh knows exactly what's wrong because he kind of told too much on that hike regarding his brother Charlie.
Yeah.
So
He kind of, well, how would you say, put his foot in it, kind of.
yeah, exactly. He he got caught. Charlie
Um,
is in some trouble. Not necessarily for the Mina situation, but some previous situation. He's confronted by Michelle about the previous relationships, and he's not upfront about it. So that puts Michelle in a position to believe that Charlie is a compulsive cheater, and now she has this concern in the back of her head, possibly that Charlie is going to cheat on her someday. Which, spoiler alert, he already has.
yeah, oh yeah, but then that kind of gets brushed under the rug temporarily because Josh asks about his dog.
Right. So his dog that they had brought on the trip initially, which he was not supposed to, but snuck him anyway, goes missing. And this is due to the fact that Charlie and Mina neglected his dog and left him out that night that they were having an affair. And Josh is absurdly upset about his dog missing. I mean, I would understand if I lost a pet, I'd be pretty upset too. But one thing to note, Josh actually has a history of being short tempered. He gets very angry very easily. So he is furious that his dog is missing. He immediately jumps to the conclusion that maybe Taylor, the guy who had rented the house out to them, might have something to do with his dog missing.
Yeah, and then I guess they kind of decide to table that issue for a while because then Michelle kind of wants to move on with her night, right?
Right. She decides to do ecstasy by herself. Nobody is in the mood to do ecstasy. Everybody did ecstasy the night before. So she says, "You know what? Screw it. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to enjoy some ecstasy." And she wants to enjoy the hot tub. But the issue is the hot tub is broken for whatever reason. So she calls Taylor. So Taylor comes over, and this is where everything just kind of unravels into a mess. Taylor is there to fix the hot tub, and while he's there fixing the hot tub, as he goes back in the house, Josh immediately confronts him about his dog. And this really calls for like a tense moment between Josh and Taylor, because Taylor is a bit of an asshole to keep things short, and Josh is a bit of a hothead. So he confronts him on his dog missing, and Taylor tells him, "I thought it was very clear, that you guys weren't supposed to have dogs on the property, but no, I did not. He did not take Josh's dog."
And then after that,
As
Mina then after tries to confront Taylor kind of secretively as, to ask him about the cameras. She says, "Are you a pervert? Are you watching us?
right,
Do you know what this is about?" But Taylor is
plays
kind of
clue.
at a loss. He's
Right,
yeah.
you see. At first, I thought he was playing clueless. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
I thought like he knew exactly about the cameras.
Because of the way the conversation, some of the dialogue, leads you to believe that, he's just kind of doing this on purpose,
He's a creep.
trying to give her a hard time.
Right.
Um,
Well, she takes him to the bathroom and shows him the camera in the shower head, and he plays along very well. Like he's absolutely unsure of how that got there. He doesn't know what it is, and Mina thinks that he's playing stupid and threatens to call the police. And well, he calls her bluff and says, "That's not even necessary. I'm going to call the police." To which ensues
Mina.
just loses her mind because it was just a bluff. She really wasn't going to call the police. She just wanted to threaten him, and she really doesn't want him to call the police because she knows the possibility of the affair is
The
going to.
footage.
You're right. Is going to come to light.
And then so Josh happens to see Mina getting like very upset, and she doesn't jump Taylor, but she's kind of like
she's attacking him. She's trying to take his phone away.
Yeah, so she is attacking him, and obviously Josh, as her boyfriend, is gonna jump to her defense and just
in a fit of rage.
Yeah, runs in there and beats Taylor down.
Yeah, he absolutely clobbers him, and they freak out because now there's this situation that Josh has created over him believing that Mina was being attacked by Taylor, which wasn't the case.
Yeah.
In fact, Mina was attacking Taylor. So,
right. And so then Michelle suggests, well, why not call the police? Just put it at that. Yeah. Call the police. The guy is still breathing when she checked on him. So that'll solve that issue.
But this is where the real twist comes in. You realize soon that they're being watched
By
on
someone else.
on their phone. They're looking at their phone, listening to them argue, and he immediately puts his phone away, and all you see is just
Like
a,
gloves. So we're talking about a mystery person
right.
that's watching them.
And you're not exactly too sure what he's up to. And it cuts back to them. Again, they're debating this whole police call. Meanwhile, Taylor's still knocked out in the bathroom, just absolutely unconscious. But you soon realize this same gloved individual kills Taylor. He takes advantage of him being unconscious and strangles him to death.
Mm-hmm.
To which he does die. And when they go back to check on Taylor, the group, they realize Taylor's dead, and they immediately think Josh killed Taylor.
Was it at this point where they then disclose to Josh and Michelle? Do Charlie and Mina tell Josh and Michelle that there's cameras? I don't remember at what point it was that they told them. And so then that's why it becomes an issue of like, well, if we do call, the footage is going to be there that Josh beat Taylor.
It was because when Josh beat up Taylor, they explain why Mina confronted Taylor, because they had no idea why Taylor and Mina were fighting, because she kind of confronted him in private.
She spun the story though, because she didn't like say, hey, I was cheating. She kind of
right.
Like,
she just said like he's being a creep and there's cameras all through
right,
the house.
Okay.
But now they have a whole nother issue on their hands. They have a dead guy in a bathtub, and they believe Josh killed him. And Josh, again, like we had said earlier, he has a history of violence. So now it sets up this whole thing like, well, what are we going to do, because this guy's dead?
And so this is where it does remind me of I Know What You Did Last Summer, because,
right.
You have the four friends essentially trying to figure out what to do next with this dead body. And of course, there's going to be someone in the group that's going to want to do the right thing, which is call authorities, call the police.
And that would be Charlie's girlfriend, Michelle.
And then you have the rest of the group, which is like, nah, we're not.
Right. They're seriously considering making this look like an accident. And
that's what happens.
Yeah, they attempt to make this look like an accident, in fact.
Yeah, so then, Charlie, Josh, and Mina get to work and trying to, make this happen. Meanwhile,
Michelle wants no part of this, so
and
she stays inside the house.
Back in the house.
And as she's in the house, while they're, plotting to make this look like an accident with Taylor's body by throwing him off a cliffside, or I believe, they cut back to Michelle being in the house packing her bags, and they see, or not see, but she hears the shower running, and she believes it's like the showers. So she goes to one shower, and that's not the case, but she can still hear it. She goes to another end.
Yeah, so she basically walks around the whole house, checking all the showers, trying to figure out where the shower head is running. And when she finds out it's not a shower, it's the TV playing.
Right.
And you guys can guess what was on the TV.
Right.
And so she finds out that, hey, Charlie hasn't really been
faithful.
Yeah.
So as the rest of the gang, after them dealing with Taylor, is finished and they're walking back up to the house, they see Michelle leaving them. And this is where things really kick off, because when Michelle leaves, this is when
she's taking the only car that is available to all of them.
So now they're stuck here at this this Airbnb, essentially, with a crazy guy that's already killed Taylor, that they're completely unaware of still. They don't even know this guy exists. But when she leaves,
she doesn't make it very far. She runs off the road and ends up crashing into a tree. And so, she gets off to see what happened. And there's some, what do you call it? The strip spikes?
Yeah, the spikes that police would use or something. This kind of reminded me of The Wrong Turn. Like, you know how they blow out their tires in the wrong turn?
Yeah.
Pretty much same thing. They always set you up to go down the dirt trail and blow your tires out. Seems to be like the best case. And this is really bad because this house is in a remote area. So the trail she's taking is not some public road or anything. It's a dirt trail through the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
And she's freaking out.
And so now she's deciding, what do I do? Should I text Charlie the cheater
Yeah.
for help? And so she does. She does end up texting him. And she's not too far from the house. So when Charlie receives the messages, he decides to, jog down the road to check out what Michelle's doing, where she's at, if she's doing all right. And then Josh and Mina are, meanwhile checking the house to see if they can figure out where
the recordings are coming from, or like where the footage might be, to just like get rid of it, because their concern is the footage of Josh beating Taylor, not necessarily the cheating.
And then the hidden agenda Mina has of making sure that footage
Right.
doesn't come to light because of their
Right, her true agenda, exactly. Well, cut back to Charlie back at the trail looking for Michelle. Michelle's not doing too well.
And Charlie soon finds out why.
Right.
And so that kind of, Charlie suffers the same fate.
Yeah, exactly. Now that just leaves Josh and Mina. And Josh and Mina are just essentially just tearing down this house looking for this footage, or this place where they might be storing the footage, to no avail. They keep looking and looking, and they find nothing. And then Josh remembers there was almost like a storage closet or something underneath the house, underneath the deck of the house.
Like a basement of sorts.
Right. So they go in there trying to look around. Again, nothing. There's
just miscellaneous stuff, like all kinds of random things.
Quite literally, it's just storage.
Yeah. But then Mina goes missing.
Right. And Mina had just left Josh down there to go back upstairs. But Josh thinks something's amiss, which isn't the case. But as he's about to leave the storage room, he receives a text message from his brother Charlie, which shouldn't be possible because Charlie's somewhere else and he's not doing too well. So this is clearly not Charlie texting him, and it's a voice message. So it cuts back to Mina. She's in the house. She's doing her best to find this footage until Josh walks back up, and Josh asks her what this is.
Yeah, so the recording was basically a conversation between Charlie and Mina the day after they had an affair. Discussing how it could never happen again. And so Josh is curious as to, what are you guys talking about? Like, what can't happen again? And then as he's confronting her, he gets another message. And it's a picture of Mina in the shower. And so Josh is like, okay, hold on. Why does Charlie have a picture of you in the shower? And Mina's still trying to kind of play clueless until Josh receives another message. And this time it's a video message.
Yep.
And it's the same recording that Michelle had seen
playing on the television. And
so Josh, instead of, getting upset with Mina, he's like lost it and is looking for Charlie.
Yeah, so he's walking through the house because he hears doors shutting downstairs. So he believes Charlie's back in the house. And this is where we're officially confronted with this murderer for the film, which there's a door that shuts. Josh thinks Charlie's hiding in the closet. He opens a closet, and bam, that's the end of Josh, I would say. And you finally get to see the assailant. And I gotta say, like, I wasn't too impressed with the outfit. But then again, I like simple stuff as well. I think, less is more. He's wearing like an old man mask and your typical jumper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing crazy about it. They didn't go over the top. They didn't try to make it look monstrous or anything.
Yeah.
It's just kind of just your basic old man mask.
Yeah, and just a jumper,
But then that kind of makes it scary because, like, what's those guys' names? Jason and
Right, Jason and Michael Myers and
yeah,
stuff.
their mask is pretty plain Jane, you
Right.
know.
And they yeah, exactly, people use the Jason mask often, like a hockey mask or something, an old man mask, you don't really see that too much.
It's kind of like a mask. What's that movie? It's a very old movie where the bank robbers use the president's masks.
Yeah, I know what movie you're talking about. Is it Takers?
No, that's not.
That's the one with 50 Cent, I believe, isn't it?
Chris Brown, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember. I want to say.
But anywho, that movie.
Yeah, it's just a creepy old man mask. Um,
And so, and then the last one on the list, I guess, left for this guy to take out is Mina.
right. And I gotta say, Mina does a pretty good job for a while here. She manages to get away from this guy for a while. She even tricks him, which with a really clever trick. At the balcony on the second floor, she threw her shoe off
Right.
down the balcony, and when the murderer looks down at the bottom of the balcony, he sees her shoe. He believes she jumped off the balcony to run away. So, in all reality, she's still upstairs in that same room, and she tries to get away.
But I guess that kind of also, now that I'm thinking about it, that kind of speaks on his behalf as them. He might not be very bright as far as like, because I mean, to get tricked like that, why not check the room first, right?
Yeah.
Because he didn't check the room at all. He just immediately saw the shoe and then went back down.
And I mean, if you think about it, he has access to the cameras. So another thing to note, it's not just the cameras in the shower. He has cameras all throughout the entire home.
Yeah, you slowly find out that there are cameras everywhere. Smoke detectors, outlets, plants, all the typical spots.
He has microphones everywhere too, so he can hear everything. So this, for him to be tricked like that, I mean, honestly, I'm not saying I'm a serial killer myself, but I think if I was a serial killer with, advantages like that, I think it would be in my best interest to check where she might have gone last, which he did not do. He was tricked, unfortunately.
Yeah, so that to me was a little like, okay.
Hey, but everybody slips up at their job,
But he ends up finding her.
Right, which ultimately results in them ending up outside, and she's running through the woods trying to get away from this guy, and it's very foggy, very, very foggy, because they're right there at the coast, so all that mist is coming off the coast, and the whole place is just really, really foggy, and she has no idea where she's running, and she ends up running off a cliffside.
Was that the last of that?
That was because when he saw her run off, she just kind of disappeared, and then he realizes when he walks up that she fell off the cliff, and he doesn't see anything. He looks down, and she's not there. I was really under the impression that Mina was probably going to be hanging on, but that's a cliche they've used in too many movies now,
Yeah.
Somebody pretend falls off a cliff. Unfortunately, Mina really fell off the cliff.
I was kind of hoping that she was hanging off.
Yeah.
I guess part of me still thinks that she's still hanging off just because they cut away so fast. I don't know. Or maybe that was just to like imply, well, that's the end of them.
Right. And then this is where, the guy kind of wipes his hand clean, and he realizes, well, his job here is done. So they don't show you who this masked man is.
They just show him like going back to the house and cleaning up.
Right.
You see him swapping out smoke detectors for other smoke detectors.
Right. Ones that don't have cameras in them.
Yeah, changing certain panels out back. Just kind of putting things back to how they were before he installed cameras.
Right.
And then, we have a cutout. And then we have this person.
Oh, wait. But remember, as he's finished cleaning up the house and he's standing in the living room, to which you don't get to see his face, the dog returns.
Oh, that's right.
So the dog, nothing bad happened to the dog. The dog is the sole survivor of the group here.
So now that gets you thinking, like, okay, well, if Josh never flipped about his dog and confronted Taylor about the dog, would have Mina taken the opportunity to confront Taylor?
Right.
right? So then it's like, would any of this have happened if they simply had not brought their dog along and just followed,
Right.
the guidelines?
I think there was a true chance of them possibly taking this guy out, like if it wasn't for all of the treachery that had went on, if Charlie and Mina never
Had it
hooked
hooked
up,
up.
all of that, I think because Josh was a powerhouse. Let's be honest. Even his short temper served him well. I think if they were a group in this house together, this would have been a happy ending movie. The bad guy doesn't make it, but that's not the case. There was so much betrayal going on in this film. I think that kind of fell into their demise ultimately.
Yeah, because it was easier for him to pick them apart. Because then
Exactly.
all he had to do was, lay out the pieces, and they just went for it.
Yeah, and he just kind of took advantage of that. Um, but yeah, after yeah, you see the dog return. He is truly the sole survivor. He made it, which no dog deserves to die. So I kind of like that little dynamic right there. That they kept the dog alive out of everybody, and I guess the dog has the house to himself because this guy goes on, and this is when you realize that this guy has a habit of this actually. So what he does is he rents out these locations, and while he's there, he sets up his stuff, and then he leaves. And when the next people come in behind him to rent out that same building, he
Observes them. He watches them.
yeah, so he can take them out next.
But it wasn't everyone though, because you saw he kind of stayed at that one location for several rentals because the people change.
Yeah,
So there's some things about certain people that he picks
right.
because, I don't know.
Everybody has their motives. You wouldn't, and that's I guess you could say the beauty of it. Like you don't really know much about this guy. In fact, I believe if you look up his like who played him, they just have him labeled as the guy. That's all he is.
And so it left me wanting to know a little more because you don't know who he is. You don't know why he does it. Um, I don't know. You know nothing.
Yeah, and I mean, this was set up in a manner that you could make a sequel out of the film because of the way the plot played out. But again, all the same, like I don't think they are planning on making a sequel out of this. They kind of just left it in a way where it's just going to be open ended.
Yeah, I hope they don't
Yeah,
because sequels and just any following movies, they milk it too much and then just it gets watered down.
right.
It
It just
becomes distasteful.
yeah, and one thing to note, they did actually lead you on to believe there's a possibility who the killer might be early on, but that rumor is immediately dispelled. So I was under the impression that
Oh,
Taylor's brother
right.
might have been the killer. So what had happened in
Mhm.
the movie when they're renting the location, they believe Taylor's the owner, but Taylor is not. Taylor is just taking care of the property, and his brother, in fact, owns the property. So you're going, oh, okay. So Taylor has nothing to do with this property other than he's just taking care of it for his brother. And when the whole incident happens and you see that somebody else is watching, you think it's Taylor's brother that's going to come into the rescue and cause some swift serial killing justice. But that does not end up being the case because he kills Taylor. So there's no way that Taylor's brother would kill him on top of killing all these people. So that entire idea is completely removed because there's no reason for Taylor's brother to just kill him.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Um, let's see, is there anything else that maybe you liked or didn't like about this movie?
I mean overall I really liked it. I think this is a good modern take on movies, like for like slasher thriller type films. Because they're using something that goes on in modern days. The again, like they didn't use Airbnb, but this is essentially what it is, and this is a real possibility that this could happen.
Yeah, and then like I've mentioned to you before, Movies like this are really scary to me because of that,
Right.
because these things can actually happen.
Yeah.
And then, like I said before, this is a thing that everyone, well, especially for girls, I guess.
Yeah.
It's become a thing. I know that on social media, a lot of girls put out like, what is it, like public announcements,
Right.
PAs, that, hey, make sure you guys check your mirrors, check your, your smoke detectors. All the spots that this guy put cameras in are all the spots that, in social media in general, everyone says, hey, make sure there's no cameras here.
Yeah. So next time, this movie will, if you ever are renting an Airbnb, this movie will make you check your Airbnb. You're gonna check everything in that house to make sure there's no weird stuff going on there. And that's what's so great about these movies. Because I feel like nowadays, like scary movies, they're really played out with the spooky ghosts and monster stuff. I think when things are grounded in reality like this, they hit home more. They're scarier.
Not to say that paranormal stuff is not real
No,
or
absolutely.
anything,
No, absolutely.
but the fact that this is more, like you said, more grounded.
Right, like this, you have a more probable chance of this happening to you than your bed getting lifted into the sky and stuff like that. Or you getting dragged out of like through a closet into like Monsterville or something. It's it's very possible. People meet their demise all the time to serial killers,
Yeah, yeah.
and this is just a fresh take on it. Honestly, I personally gave the movie a 4 out of 5. Um, I will say Mina was a very unlikable character for me the whole movie. I just did not like her. I felt like she was a bit of a home wrecker. She seemed like the
um
problem starter here.
I give it a solid 3 out of 5. It was, like you said, it was a fresh new take on something current. But nothing, to that really left me like with my jaw dropped.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So usually our ratings range,
Your mileage may vary.
yeah, so our ratings usually are from a five scale.
Right.
We won't do like a 10 scale or anything. We feel
Yeah.
like that's too much.
Right.
So like I said, I give it a solid 3 out of 5.
Yeah, because I think if you do a 1 through 10, there's just too much room for you to. It's just too in depth. I think the more generalized you are, the better.
Yeah, and the reason why I give it a 3 out of 5 is
Yeah, like
it was solid acting,
Yeah.
solid storyline.
Uh-huh.
I love the ending actually.
Yeah.
The more I think about it and like, kind of sit on it, it's like, you know what, I really do like this because we don't know who he is.
See, that's why that's where I was on the verge of changing my, review for the film. Like, I think if they would have disclosed more on that murderer, I feel like I would have ended up with the 3 out of 5, not a 4. I think the fact that they kept that shrouded in mystery is what made me like it that much more.
True. Yeah. And yeah, a 3 is not bad for me.
Yeah, no, of
I
course.
think it's pretty solid. But yeah, overall, definitely recommend this film. We hope we didn't give you too many spoilers to not make you want to watch it.
No,
You
of
should
course.
definitely check it out.
Hey, and even if we did give on too much, there's still a lot of people out there that they want to know everything about the movie, and still want to go see it.
Yeah, we left plenty out,
Right.
plenty of details. We didn't really.
I think that's where we differ also, because me personally, I have no problems watching a movie after somebody spoiled it with me, because despite what they're telling me, my reaction is going to be completely different when I actually see it.
That's true. Yeah, I'm the other way. I can't watch something if someone's giving me too many spoilers because then I don't feel that like anticipation of like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen?
Right, you
I'm
already
already
know.
like, ugh, I already know what's gonna happen.
Right. I'm easy.
Alrighty, guys.
Yep, so that was our review for The Rental. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, comment, maybe comment another film or something that we could review as well. We're always interested. We watch movies all the time. All right. I hope you enjoyed this, and the Film Fiends are out.
Thank you. Bye.